the spring, I drew the comparison between Donald Trump and Dwight Eisenhower. And I think the more I see of the Trump administration, the more I see of his cabinet, the more it looks like Eisenhower's cabinet. Eisenhower, who was the only figure really other than Ronald Reagan in the post-war era, who had an extensive and successful career outside of politics before he became president, appointed a cabinet of very successful people. The CEO of General Motors was a good example. And they were essentially a bunch of people who really had succeeded in life and knew how to manage enterprises and knew how to stimulate economic growth. And the 50s were legendary for their ability to elevate the American standard of living. I see in Trump's cabinet a very similar group of people. You start with the appointment for Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry. He is obviously going to let the oil companies and the gas companies and the other energy producers have their head, and is going to make America not only energy independent, we'll leave that one behind early in the term, but become an energy superpower, very similar to Saudi Arabia, where the United States will control the world's energy supply and the world's energy price, just as it did in the Eisenhower era, way before OPEC. And that's probably because Perry will just simply take the controls off and let those guys run with it. And I think you're going to see a tremendous increase in American power and American energy, that I think will fuel enormous economic growth in the United States. The second appointment that I think is incredibly pro-growth is the EPA appointment of Scott Pruitt, the Attorney General of Oklahoma. He has long opposed this crazy regulation power grab of the Obama administration, which is single-handedly holding back American manufacturing companies because they don't know where their electricity is coming from. They don't know if they can automate because they don't know what the price of power is going to be, with the power companies having to shift off of coal. They don't know what regulations will be imposed upon them in terms of emissions, in terms of carbon dioxide emissions. And that uncertainty, that fear, is stopping investment, stopping job growth, and inhibiting America's ability to really take off and compete. And I think that you're going to see Pruitt rescinding that stuff. And I think you're just going to see the manufacturing sector go like hell because they really no longer have that uncertainty looming over their heads. Even in his choice for Secretary of Commerce of Wilbur Ross, Trump is hiring a guy who's not just a businessman, not just an investor, but an expert in turning around failing companies. And I think that expertise will be very much on display as the Secretary of Commerce works with the private sector. The most interesting of these pro-growth choices, I think, is Price for HHS, a strong opponent of Obamacare. He's going to roll that thing back and will liberate the health marketplace to innovate and to grow. Health is not just a vital thing for all of us, it's a seventh of our national economy. And by subjecting it to the uncertainty of price controls and regulation and mandates on insurance companies, ultimately, and constantly changing the regulations, Obama froze innovation and investment in that sector. Who's going to build a new wing on their hospital for colonoscopies when we have no idea what the reimbursement rate's going to be, or whether they'll be permitted, or what the deal will be? By rolling back federal regulation and liberating the healthcare industry, I think you're going to see healthcare not just improved clinically in the United States, but for America's position as the global leader in innovation and manufacturing of medical equipment and supplies and devices and technologies will become huge. So I think those are four absolutely fantastic pro-growth choices of President-elect Trump. Good for you. Every doubt and every uncertainty that I and others have had about Trump is rapidly being blown away by his selections for the cabinet. Thanks for watching.